Hello and welcome to Mickeyology, where we take Disney a little too seriously. I'm Rafael, and today we are covering a movie that so many of you have asked for, and well, today is the day that we dive into the wild world of Baloo, Mowgli, Bagheera, and Shere Khan. That's right, we are analyzing Disney's The Jungle Book. The Jungle Book is a landmark movie in Disney history because it was the last animated feature that Walt Disney supervised. But what about the story itself? What's its history? When and where does the story of Mowgli the man-cub take place? Well, let's find out by examining the clues hidden in the film. Bagheera narrates the beginning of the film, and he gives us a key piece of information right away.
Many strange legends are told of these jungles of India, but none so strange as the story of a small boy named Mowgli.
Did you catch that? He says the story takes place in India. That's extremely helpful information, and it tells us the exact country in which the movie takes place. Still, we don't know where exactly in India the story takes place, so to find out, let's see what we can discover by examining the movie's wildlife. The Jungle Book is populated almost entirely by wild animals, and wild animals don't live just anywhere. By identifying the species of wild animal we see in a film, we can thereafter identify where those species exist, and that allows us to zero in on the location where the film takes place. And the Jungle Book gives us a lot of animals to work with. Baloo the bear, Bagheera the black panther, Shere Khan the tiger, Hathi the elephant, and so forth. Unfortunately, you can find all of these species in several different parts of India. There's no species that exists in one specific part of India only. However, there is one character that's not native to India at all. King Louie. Louie is an orangutan, and those are native to the Indonesian archipelago. So maybe Disney simply made a mistake including Louie in the story. But maybe not. After all, it's not impossible to think that a single orangutan might somehow have traveled from northern Indonesia to southern India, especially if humans were involved. For all we know, Louie escaped captivity at some point, or he stowed away on a boat from point A to point B. Still, it is a little strange to see an Indonesian animal in what's supposed to be an Indian story. For now, however, let's just assume that Louie's inclusion in the film isn't a mistake, and thereby infer that the story takes place somewhere in the eastern half of India. That gives us a rough idea of where the story takes place, but what about when? To find out, let's examine one of the movie's most iconic locations. Of all the locations that we see in the movie, only two are human-made, the Man Village and the Monkey Temple. And the only one we see from the inside, at least in the first Jungle Book, is the Monkey Temple, which makes it a valuable clue. There are real stone ruins like this in India, like the Bateshwar temples. Located in northern India, these temples were built between the 8th and 11th centuries, but were somehow destroyed in the 13th century and abandoned. If this is Louie's home, then the movie must take place sometime in or after the 13th century. But those aren't the only ruins in India. There are the ruins of Hampi in southern India. This ruined complex was built between the 14th and 15th centuries and was once the capital city of the Vijayanagara Empire. Now its only visitors are pilgrims and monkeys. Hampi was abandoned in the 16th century, so if this is the site of Louie's kingdom, the movie must take place sometime after that. However, there's another site that I think resembles Louie's temple more than any other: Angkor Wat. Angkor was the center of the Khmer Empire, and the majestic temple of Angkor Wat was built in the 12th century. It was abandoned in the 15th century. Angkor's ruins bear a striking resemblance to those we see in the film, with its tall and intricate towers, its multiple pillars, and its carved stone faces. However, there's one problem. Angkor Wat isn't in India. It's located far to the east in Cambodia. Still, wherever Louie's temple is, we know that it must date roughly to around the 12th century, since that's around the time that stone complexes like Bateshwar and Hampi and Angkor were built. To get a more solid idea of when the movie takes place, we can now turn to the movie's dialogue. Several lines in the movie hint at when the movie takes place. For example, Bagheera says that Shere Khan hates guns.
He hates man with a vengeance, you know that, because he fears man's gun and man's fire.
That tells us that the movie must take place after the invention of guns and probably after the time when guns were introduced to India. Now, the first record we have of someone using a gun is from the year 1364, and Indians began using guns in the 15th century. So, the movie must take place sometime during or after the 15th century. However, some other dialogue indicates that the movie might take place much later. As Mowgli is traveling towards the man village, he encounters an elephant patrol led by Colonel Hathi, and the stuffy old pachyderm has a lot to say about his military career.
That's the way I earned my commission in the Maharaja's 5th Pachyderm Brigade. Back in '88, it was, what was it?
Here it comes. The Victoria Cross bit again.
It was then I received the Victoria Cross for bravery above and beyond the call of duty. Ha ha!
Hathi says that he earned the Victoria Cross. The Victoria Cross is a medal awarded by the British Army for brave service in the face of an enemy. They invented this award in 1856, so Hathi must have earned it sometime after that. Hathi says that he earned this honor while serving in the Maharaja's 5th Pachyderm Brigade. A Maharaja, of course, is an Indian prince or ruler, so he's saying that he earned a British medal while serving in an Indian prince's army. Now, there's only one time in history when that could have happened, the era of the British Raj. Britain took over India in 1858 and ruled it until 1947. The British Indian government was known as the British Raj, and Britain maintained control of the country by working with local rulers, Maharajas. Thus, it would be possible for someone to serve both a Maharaja and Her Majesty the Queen at the same time. Hathi apparently served as a war elephant, and according to him, he faced the enemy with great valor. The British Raj was involved in several wars. Hathi says his adventures happened around 88. Since the British Raj only existed from 1858 to 1947, there's only 1 year that he could be referring to, and that's 1888. Now, he's also talking about this as if it happened a long time ago, so we can assume that the movie takes place a while after 1888. How long after? Well, let's do some elephant math. Asian elephants like Hathi hit puberty between the ages of 8 and 13. That's probably about the age at which Hathi would be mature enough to serve in combat. Asian elephants also begin to father children around 30 years old. Hathi has a young son when we meet him in the Jungle Book, so we can assume he's 30 or perhaps older. Asian elephants also have a lifespan of about 50 years. Time to crunch the numbers. Let's say that Hathi was between 10 and 20 years old when he earned the Victoria Cross, which was in 1888, or sometime around there.
Back in '88, it was, what was it?
Let's say that he's between 30 and 40 years old when we meet him in the film. That means that it's been 20 to 30 years since he earned the Victoria Cross, which was, as we said, sometime around the year 1888. So we add 20 to 30 to 1888, and we carry the 1 and divide the percentage and multiply by pi. And that means the Jungle Book must take place between 1908 and 1918, give or take. But hold on, Hathi has also given us another crucial piece of information, because now we know that when Bagheera says this story takes place in India, he must mean India as it existed during the British Raj. Back then, India was a much larger territory than it is now, and it extended much further east. In fact, India extended to an area not all that far from Indonesia, and a lot closer to Cambodia than modern-day India. All this makes it much more plausible that a man cub from India could cross paths with an orangutan from Indonesia at a site that could be as far away as Cambodia, or at least built by a people related to those that built Angkor Wat. Based on the movie's narration, wildlife, locations, and dialogue, I am placing the Jungle Book in eastern India, near modern-day Burma/Myanmar, in the early 1900s. So there you have it. That is my theory for when and where Disney's animated version of The Jungle Book takes place. Please let me know in the comments what you thought of my conclusions and when and where you think the movie takes place. Also, don't forget to let me know which Disney movie you would like me to analyze next. I also have a video on the live-action version of The Jungle Book coming out very soon, so please don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video or any other videos when they come out. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.